What's going on, guys? Today I want to show you the new custom roster me, Vassy, and Tugi have been working on for the start of NHL 26. As always, if you guys don't know how to download this, simply go over to More, then you're going to click on Roster Sharing. You only have one option. Go to the hub, click on Download Community Files. Now you will see, I think mine right now is at the top. Thank you guys so much for downloading it, but you want to get this new roster. It is way, way better. I made that top one in like a few hours before the game released. This one obviously has been about a month in the works. So Vassy X Tactics X Tugi V1. You want to just click A to download it. Normally I'd say or X for PlayStation. Unfortunately, this is only available on Xbox. If you guys want to, download this roster on PlayStation, let EA know you want cross-console roster sharing. Currently, though, that is not the case. Now, sometimes there is a glitch where the roster actually won't be activated. EA apparently is working on this. Now, if that does happen to you, simply go to active rosters, click on the most recent EA one, click it as your active roster, and then after you see the check mark there, click back on our custom roster. It basically like refreshes it and makes sure you have the most recent one. Easiest way to check is simply go to the creation zone, create player, and if you see a bunch of created guys, you're on the right one. So if you guys want to use us in game, Vassy made this, which I think is pretty cool. And again, tons of custom prospects here. Vassy made overwhelming majority of these. Huge shout out to him. I was more involved with editing the existing NHL players as well as CHL players, doing a lot of positioning things. So if you guys just look through here, you can see all the overalls, player types. Unfortunately, it would take too long to show you all the potentials and the attributes if you guys are on PlayStation, but I wanted to at least go through the list once for you. You guys can just see all the names there. I probably should have done skaters first, then goalies, but I think we're kind of committed at this point already. We're about halfway through. So again, you can just see all the list of names. There's also alumni players in here too. So think you're like Paul Correa's. I'm trying to think of other guys that, have not been added to the game yet. Fedorov used to be one, same with Bobby Orr. They, of course, are both now in. So a ton of names here. Speaking of Paul Correa's right there, but I was going to say, it's just guys that, have at least a small probability of making the NHL. So there's some guy that was a 7th round pick 4 years ago. He still hasn't made it. He might not have, made it into our roster here, as he'll probably, never be relevant in a franchise mode. But again, there was a ton of names here. I don't think there's probably a single roster with more custom prospects. So again, that is all due to Vassy. So huge shout out to him. You've also got a bunch of created teams here. There's a lot of teams that I've made in the past, other YouTubers have made in the past. There's alternate logos there for existing teams like the Florida Panthers there. You've also got the Hartford Whales, of course. Hamilton Wolverines, if anyone remembers this one, that is from like NHL 12 or NHL 13 for me. But again, you got a ton of custom teams here to choose from. There is still custom team slots too to make your own. And if you ever do hit the max, you can obviously delete ones you do not need. And then quickly here, guys, I just want to kind of show you some of the teams. Again, try to make it more realistic. Jackson Lacombe here, of course, bumped up in potential. Try to make the positions as accurate as possible using a mix of daily faceoff as well as elite prospects, hockey DB, just a ton of different things. So you guys can see here, just kind of going through and showing you what the roster looks like. I know there were some defensemen. I think EA kind of vastly overrated. Also, too, I think there were some young guys that were, way too high to start. So try to make it more realistic, especially due to I have a pretty good idea of how franchise works, and you have to make sure that everything kind of works in terms of what the draft's going to generate. You can't have, all your prospects, be a 70 out of the draft that are real when all the fake ones, the top guys are 80. So I boosted guys like McKenna, DuPont. I should mention, of course, McKenna's in the game, which you guys will see. I know too, Kopitar here, if you're wondering, why is his potential so low? It's to try and make him retire after that first year, which usually he will do. And even though he'll, end it at like a pretty low rating, like a 74, because he starts out high and because he's got those X factors, he will produce. I should mention too, someone's going to point it out, Kaprizov making 15 million instead of 17. This is because that's actually the max you're allowed to make a contract in this game. I'm sure EA is going to go over it with their next newest roster, but unfortunately for us, we were limited and it was basically out of our hands. So just hopefully everyone understands that. And again, just kind of showing you all the, ratings and potentials. Again, I think they're in a better spot. Schneider here is an 85, which still might be like one overall high. EA have an 87 though. So obviously, wanted to fix that. If you guys see anything glaring that you really, really think needs to be changed, whether it be a rating, a potential, or a position, simply, just let me know in the comments section. I'll try to make sure that happens for the next roster. But like I said, I think it is in a really good spot here. Definitely much more happy with this roster than, what EA gave us there to start. I think, again, everything's more realistic. That's what we're going for. I know some people like to say franchise mode, I don't make the most realistic trades, but I try to just, do the best I can with the rosters where they're at. So, again, we're almost done here, guys. You can kind of see everything. Usually for us, too, the ratings is based on like a 3-year scale, with last year being the one that matters the most, then the, 2 years ago, and then 3 years ago, opposed to just basing everything on last year, which I think is more or less what EA does. I'll show you guys the goalies quickly here, too, as well. Obviously, trying to make it so that the accurate starters are the ones starting. I noticed in some like the EA rosters, they had the backup goalie with a higher rating. So going through here, hopefully, you know, the goalie ratings, everyone's pretty happy with. For instance, a guy like Kemper, really good year last year, but the year before that was bad. So 86, you know, I think is pretty fair. Again, I think for the most part, these are in a pretty good spot. I think obviously the highest rated goalie is Connor Hellebuck. The lowest rated starter might be Vladosh at an 80. I don't know if there's anyone worse than that, honestly. Or actually, Nedoljevich there on the Sharks, although Askarov will probably pass him within like a week or so, which with that potential should happen in-game as well. Looking at the rest of these, like I said, I think we have it in a pretty good spot. So I'll show you guys a few of the top prospects, and I'll actually show you kind of what happens in the draft. So for instance, guys, Landon Dupont here, 78 overall medium franchise. This is to make sure that he's basically NHL ready when he gets drafted. Same with Gavin McKenna, 82. He actually won't change in the draft. He'll stay there at 82 overall. On Regina Pats here, Maddox Schultz, Liam Pugh, both could be top picks 2028. So again, they're rated a lot higher than they should be, as we want to make sure that they have a decent rating when they come out of the draft. And so far this year, I haven't really found the prospect growth for these guys during their junior years has been that great. Porter Martone, of course, all the, you know, college players that defected from juniors have been added back. I mentioned before, made sure Frondel's a center. Somehow EA had him as left wing. So like I said, a lot of position changes, you know, we made sure to be accurate. And now getting into a franchise mode, guys, to show you the draft, I'll first show you the team ratings. So you can see here in the Pacific, San Jose is lowest rated as you'd expect. Vegas, Edmonton there tied with the highest. In the Central, you have Chicago there at the lowest, which again makes sense. Dallas, Colorado, and Winnipeg all the highest, which, you know, is true to real life. In the Atlantic, it's a lot more tight, which it should be. Florida, though, is the highest. Buffalo is the lowest. I think, you know, that does make sense to me. And then the Metro there, you actually have Columbus, Philly, Pittsburgh, they're the lowest, and then Carolina is the highest. So again, I think, you know, overalls do make sense. And I just simmed through the first round of the 2026 draft, guys. As you can see, McKenna goes first overall, 82. Then have Keaton Verhoff going second overall. This dude here, Alex Devin, he's made up, so he goes third. Then you got Stenberg there, Bjork, Rubrick, you got Lawrence, Belchet. So, you know, again, just try to make this draft as realistic as possible. But you're always going to have those EA-created guys who go below the real ones, and they're just steals. The made-up guys always seem to slip in the first round. And now look at the 2027 draft here, guys. You can see an EA-created guy, Pistola, went first overall, 83 medium franchise. So that's why I tried to get Dupont even higher. So he's 80 overall there, medium franchise out of the draft, because, I mean, 83 is pretty crazy. Alexis Joseph there is 80 high elite. I can see some other guys, you know, Pelosi there, Jackson, Jacobson, Bethal. And then again, you can see an EA created guy falling mid-first round. But hopefully, you know, you guys like this roster. You know, you find it a lot more realistic. And just like last year, guys, throughout the year, I'll be making updates to this roster. I know the next one, I think, Tuga is going to do a bunch of changes for the X Factors. So make sure to stay tuned for that. And as always, guys, hopefully enjoy this one. If you did, leave that thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't. Have a nice day, guys. Goodbye.